At 36, her family did not want her to get married. Nelly owned 3 hair stores in Port Harcourt. She sold Brazilian hair, Peruvian hair, Vietnamese hair, closures, frontals, wigs, everything a woman needed to look beautiful. She traveled to China and Vietnam 4 times a year to buy hair directly from suppliers. Her father died when she was 12, and her mother could barely feed 4 children on what she made, selling provisions at the market. Nelly was the oldest, so she started helping by frying puff-puff after school and braiding hair on weekends. When she finished secondary school, there was no money for university. Nelly became an apprentice at a salon, and after 3 years she started doing hair from home until she saved enough to open her own shop. By 25 she had 1 shop, by 28 she had 2, by 30 she had 3, and was traveling abroad to buy inventory. She was making very good money, enough to take care of everyone. Nelly lived with her mother and her younger brother Kenneth in a house she bought when she was 32. It was a nice house with 4 bedrooms in a quiet neighborhood. She paid for everything: the electricity, the water, the food, everything. Her younger sisters, Patience and Gloria, were married with children. Patience had 3 children in 4 years. Gloria had 3 as well. Nelly became the aunt who paid school fees and bought clothes and gave money for birthdays. She gave Kenneth money for his welding business whenever he needed it. She never said no when her family needed something. Men approached her often. Some wanted her money, and she could tell immediately, but there were genuine men too. Men who had their own jobs and their own plans. The first serious one was David. He worked at a bank and was quiet and respectful. They dated for 6 months. When she brought him home to meet her family, her mother barely looked at him. David had brought gifts. Her mother accepted them without saying thank you. She left them by the door and walked into her room. Kenneth came out to greet them, but her mother called him back inside. David sat in the living room alone with Nelly for 30 minutes. The silence was thick. David left feeling unwelcome. 2 weeks later, he ended the relationship. Nelly was hurt, but she moved on. Then came Michael. Michael owned a transport company with several buses. She invited him for Sunday lunch. Kenneth was there, and the moment Michael sat down, Kenneth started asking questions. How many buses did Michael own? How much profit did he make monthly? Could Michael help transport equipment at a discount? The questions kept coming. After lunch, Kenneth told Nelly that Michael only cared about money. Michael stopped calling after that visit. Then there was Emmanuel. He was a civil engineer. After 5 months, he wanted to marry Nelly. Patience took his number and texted him with an unknown number. The messages said Nelly had terrible debt, that she borrowed money from dangerous people, that she was not as successful as she appeared. Emmanuel grew confused and distant. The relationship died slowly. Patience came to comfort Nelly when she cried. She said Emmanuel was not the right man. She said the right one would come. The pattern continued. Gloria told one man named Chidi that Nelly was still seeing her ex-boyfriend. She created detailed stories about an ex who did not exist. Chidi could not deal with the drama. Her mother was cold to another man named Femi. She served him food without water and said there was none in the house. Femi never called again. Each time Nelly confronted her family, they acted innocent. They said they were protecting her from bad men. They made her doubt herself. Maybe her family knew better. But deep down, something else was happening. Nelly's family had something they would never say out loud. Patience's 3 children attended expensive private schools. The fees were 150,000 naira per term per child. Nelly paid all of it. Gloria's husband earned very little as a teacher. The salary could barely feed the family. Nelly sent Gloria money every month, sometimes 50,000 HN, sometimes more. Kenneth's welding business was not doing well. Most months he made barely enough to feed his family. Nelly paid his rent, which was 70,000 naira monthly. She gave him money for materials whenever he had a job. Her mother lived comfortably in the house Nelly bought. She did not worry about rent or bills or food. Everything was covered. If Nelly got married, all of this would change. A husband would come first. There might be children. Nelly's money would flow in a different direction. Her time would belong to someone else. These thoughts terrified her family, but they never admitted it. They told themselves they were protecting Nelly. They told themselves she was better off focused on family. They did not look at the selfishness underneath these thoughts. Years passed this way. Nellie dated and every relationship crumbled. She was exhausted. Some nights she cried alone in her room. She wondered if marriage was just not meant for her. If she would always be alone. Then she met Jerry at a business conference in Lagos. Jerry owned a logistics company. He moved goods across West Africa. He was presenting on supply chain management. Nellie found his presentation impressive. After his session, he approached her during the break. They started talking. He was easy to talk to. He listened well. He asked thoughtful questions. They exchanged numbers. Jerry called her 3 days later. They talked for over an hour. He told her about his business. She told him about her hair stores. He asked about her family and she gave simple answers. Everyone was fine. They dated for 8 months before Jerry said he wanted to meet her family. Nellie was nervous. She had learnt what happened when she introduced men to her family. But Jerry insisted. He said if they were serious, he needed to meet the important people in her life. So she brought him home on a Saturday afternoon. Her mother was in the living room. Nellie introduced Jerry. Her mother looked at him briefly and looked away. She did not greet him. She did not smile. Jerry stood there, holding the gifts he brought. Her mother did not reach for the gifts. She simply stared at the television. Kenneth came out from his room. He shook Jerry's hand, but his eyes were unfriendly. He asked what Jerry did. He asked where Jerry lived. He asked if Jerry owned or rented his house. The questions were aggressive. Jerry answered calmly, but Nellie could see he was uncomfortable. After 40 minutes of hostile silence, Jerry suggested they leave. On the drive away from the house, Jerry was quiet. Nellie waited for him to say he was done, that her family was too much. Instead, Jerry said he understood what was happening. He said her family was afraid she would stop supporting them if she got married. He said this did not change how he felt about her. Nellie cried. No man had ever understood before. No man had ever stayed after meeting her family. But her family increased their efforts. Kenneth started calling Jerry late at night. He would say he needed business advice. He would ask Jerry to lend him money for equipment. He would ask Jerry to give him contracts, moving equipment for his logistics company. Jerry was polite but firm. He told Kenneth to speak to Nellie if he needed help. Kenneth complained to Nellie that Jerry was arrogant and rude. He said Jerry was trying to separate her from her family. Patience invited Jerry and Nellie to lunch at her house. She spent the entire meal talking about children. She said Nellie had always wanted many children. She said time was running out. She made it sound like Nellie was desperate. She said all this while staring at Jerry. Jerry simply held Nellie's hand across the table and said he loved Nellie exactly as she was. Then Gloria did something terrible. She had a friend named Rita who was single and beautiful. Gloria invited Jerry to a children's birthday party and made sure Rita was there. Rita wore a short tight dress. She laughed at everything Jerry said. She touched his arm constantly. She asked for his phone number to discuss a supposed business idea. Jerry was polite but distant. He stayed close to Nellie the whole time. That night, Rita sent him messages. The messages were flirtatious. She said she could tell he was not happy with Nellie. She said she could treat him better. Jerry took screenshots and showed Nellie everything. Nellie felt sick. She asked Jerry why he was still here, why he had not run away like everyone else. Jerry looked at her and said because he loved her, because he could see she was trapped. Because he wanted to build a life with her away from all this. Nellie wanted to believe him, but fear held her back. One Saturday afternoon, Nellie heard something she shouldn't have heard. Nellie went to her sister's house to drop off money for school fees. She walked through the back door because the front was locked. She heard voices in the kitchen. Her mother and sisters were talking. Patience was saying they needed to do more to separate Nellie and Jerry. Gloria suggested telling Jerry that Nellie had health problems, that she could not have children. Her mother said no, that was too risky. Then Patience said something that stopped Nellie's heart. She said they had to make sure Nellie never married Jerry or anyone. She said how else would her children stay in their expensive school? How else would she maintain her lifestyle? Gloria agreed. She said without Nellie's money, her household would collapse. She said Nellie owed them. Nellie was the oldest. It was her responsibility to take care of everyone. Their mother was quiet for a moment. Then she said Nellie was a good daughter. She understood family. They would find a way to keep things as they were. Nellie stood there, frozen. Her vision blurred. These were the people she sacrificed everything for. These were the people she traveled to China and Vietnam for, worked long hours for, went without things for. And they were plotting to keep her alone, to keep her useful. She left quietly. She drove straight to Jerry's house in tears. She told him everything she heard. She cried until she could not cry anymore. Jerry held her and said nothing. He just held her. When she calmed down, she looked at him and said she was ready to marry him, ready to choose herself, ready to walk away from her family if necessary. Jerry said yes immediately. He said they would marry quickly. They would not give her family time to interfere. 3 weeks later, they signed papers at the registry. Only Jerry's family attended. His mother and his siblings welcomed Nellie warmly. During the ceremony, Nellie's phone rang constantly. She turned it off. That evening, Jerry helped her pack her things from her mother's house. Her family stood in the living room crying and shouting. Kenneth called her selfish. Patience said she was abandoning her nieces and nephews. Gloria said she would regret this. Their mother said she was disgracing the family. Nellie told them calmly that she was married now, that she would no longer be paying for everything, that they needed to take care of themselves. She said she loved them, but she was done being used. She walked out with Jerry. They drove away while her family stood watching. The following months were difficult. Her family called constantly. They sent people to beg her to come back. They said she was wicked. They said she had changed. But Nellie had Jerry. Jerry reminded her every day that she deserved her own happiness, that love should not require endless sacrifice, that she was not responsible for everyone else's life. Slowly, Nellie built something new. She and Jerry traveled together. She expanded her business without the pressure of supporting everyone. They talked about their future, maybe children, maybe not. Either way, they had each other. Her family eventually adjusted. Patience found ways to manage. Gloria's husband worked harder. Kenneth's business slowly improved. They survived without her constant support. Years later, they would see each other at events. The conversations were brief and polite. The closeness was gone forever. Sometimes Nellie felt sad about it, but mostly she felt free. Free to live her own life. Free to be loved without conditions. Free to finally breathe. And that was everything.